Hey everybody, this is Deepak Khatri and I welcome you all to my Upside Down lab. I hope you guys are doing great. In today's video, we are going to discuss how to assemble your own BioAmp version 1.5. This video is going to be very interesting. Now without wasting much time, let's get started. This is what you will get after finishing the assembly. We have connected the battery cable here, the audio cable here, electrode cable, all the components. Let's start working on the assembly now. Before starting with assembly, please download up-to-date instruction manual from GitHub. It will help you when you are going to assemble the BioAmp version 1.5. For assembly, along with the bag of components, you require a wire nipper, some solder, and a soldering iron. We will start with soldering all the resistors. We will have to solder one 1K resistor, 6 10K resistors, 2 100K resistors and 2 220K resistors. Here I will show you how to solder one. Procedure for other resistors will be same. I will start with bending the leads. I'll do this all the way. Then I'll bend the second lead like this. Then I'll nip some part of the wires. I can see I have to place the 1K resistor here, that is on the PCB. I have to place at R11. I'll insert the resistor and I'll solder it. Now just place the tip of your soldering iron on the lead and it will slowly heat the pad and the lead. Apply some solder. Same for the second lead and it's done. Now you just have to nip the wires like this and it's done. Our first resistor is done. Let's solder other resistors now. We are done with all the resistors. Let's start soldering all the capacitors now. We have to solder total 8 capacitors. 3 of them are electrolytic and 4 of them are non-polarized disc capacitors. Capacitors placement is very simple. You have 4 capacitors with 104 written on them. They are 0.1 microfarad capacitors. Just put one here, and here. Then you have one 4.7 nanofarad capacitor. Just put it here. You have 3 polarized capacitors. This black band shows negative. You can also see that positive lead is bigger than the negative lead. Just put the positive lead on the purple side and negative lead on the white side. Do the same for other two. Now I place my hand like this and flip and bend all the leads slightly in opposite direction so that capacitors don't fall. Then I'll solder. We are done with all the capacitors now. Let's start with other main components: LED, switch, IC and the headphone jack. Solder the LED first. Find the notch or the negative lead. Now you just have to solder it. What you can do, just solder one lead Then push the LED until it sits flat on the PCB. Now you can easily solder the other leg, and we are done with the LED. Nip the wires. It's done. Perfect. Let's solder the switch now. You have to make sure that these two slots face like this, and it will be like this on the other side. Just make sure this side faces with the LED. Insert the switch like this. We'll solder the IC now. It is the most important component. Make sure the notch of the TL074 matches with the notch on the PCB. So we'll place it like this, and we'll solder now. Almost everything is done. We'll solder the jack now and all the connectors. We'll solder all the connectors now. We have to solder one connector here, then one goes here, one goes here, one goes here, and the last one goes here. We are done with all the components, and with that our board is complete. This is how it looks after soldering all the components. Some things are missing: the electrode cable, the audio cable, and the power cable. Preparation of the audio cable can be the hardest part of this assembly. We have to solder these two wires to this. We have to solder the positive wire to the sleeve and the negative wire to the second ring. So what we have here, the tip, ring 1, ring 2, sleeve. We'll solder the positive wire to the sleeve and the negative wire to ring 2. Now we'll strip the wire. We have to make sure it's not longer than the required length. That should be about this much. Okay. Twist the wire. Positive wire is done. For negative, remove the sleeve just a little bit. This much is enough. We'll solder the wires now. You have to prepare the surface first. Apply a little amount of solder, very little, that's enough. Remove the excess. You need a very thin layer of solder here. Take the wire, tin it very lightly on the edge. Remove the excess solder. Then you have to solder the wire like this. Heat the pad. Heat the surface first, then place the wire. That's it. This was the hardest part, probably the hardest part. It depends on your soldering skills. Tin the surface slightly. Solder the wire like this, and you are done. Make sure it's soldered correctly and it's not like this. Now we are done. It should look something like this after the soldering. Now for the protection, we'll use this shrink tube. It will be provided with your kit. Just cut the string tube in 3 pieces, 2 very small pieces and 1 large piece. Keep the small pieces aside and slide the larger piece through the wires like this. We are done with the string tube. Now you can slide the protection cover like this. Press slightly. Take the 2 smaller pieces, slide them like this. Now we are going to prepare the electrode cable. Take the alligator clips and remove the protective covers like this. You will either get 2 black or 2 reds, and one will be of different color. The different color will be for reference. We are going to use the blue wire for BioAmp reference, green wire for BioAmp negative input, and orange wire for BioAmp positive input. Now we'll solder the wires. For that, keep the protective covers aside. You'll need something like this to hold the clips. We need to tin the alligator clips from inside where we want to solder our wires. Just place the hot iron somewhere here and weld some solder. Keep the iron there for some seconds and it's done. Do the same for other two. Just keep the iron there until it sticks to the alligator clip. It's done. I have tinned all the wires. Now we just have to solder them, but don't just solder them like this. Basically solder them from the opposite direction. This will reduce the strain on wires and you will not end up with alligator clips without wires, because this will help improve the lifetime of your connectors. When it's done, just pull the wire like this. We are done with the electrodes now. The kit is supplied with these white string tube. Just cut it in half and put them on the electrode cable. This will keep it tidy, and we are done with the cables. Now we have all the wires. Let's connect everything to the main board. We'll start with 9-volt battery clip. You can see there is a marking for positive and there is a marking for negative. Just insert the wire like this, both the wires. Then put the wire through second hole. Same for the positive lead. Put the wire through second hole. Now you can just connect the wires like this. And solder it in place. This is how you have to solder all the wires. Insert the wire in the first hole from the upper side, then insert the wire to the second hole from the bottom side, then take it from the upper side, and then you can solder it. After the soldering is done, just pull the wires from the bottom like this. Then place your finger like this and pull the wires from the upper side. This way, however you move the wire, it will not break, and this will increase the lifetime of your BioAmp. Now the procedure is same for the audio cable and the electrode cable. We'll start with the electrode cable. You see there are 3 connections, one for reference, one for positive, one for negative, and we have already discussed that the blue one is for reference, green one is for negative, and orange one is for the positive. Here I have inserted all the wires successfully. What I did, I cut them diagonally, then I stripped the wires like this. Now I am going to tin the wires and solder them to the board. Finally, we are done with our BioAmp assembly. We have connected the electrodes, the audio cable, battery snap, and all the components. Now all that remains is to use it and have fun. For that, I have created a different video. It's called Intro to BioAmp version 1.5. I'll share the link in the description box below. I hope it was not too complicated to assemble and you had fun doing it. If you ran into any problem, please let us know in the comment section below. We'll try to help. Until then, have fun. Bye. Peace.